Money doesn't make a man clean. It only makes it easier to hide the mess. At exactly 6:30 every morning, Adrian Blackwood woke up, not because he needed an alarm, but because discipline had become his brand. The curtains of his penthouse in Silvercrest City opened automatically, revealing a skyline bathed in soft gold. Adrian stepped out of bed, showered, dressed in a perfectly pressed suit, and sprayed an expensive cologne that cost more than most people's rent. To the world, Adrian Blackwood was untouchable, a self-made billionaire before 40, founder of Blackwood Systems, featured on magazine covers, invited to elite panels, praised for his minimalist lifestyle and razor-sharp discipline. People said he had everything figured out. But the moment Adrian locked his front door behind him each morning, he left something terrible inside. A secret no one ever saw. Behind the polished doors of his luxury penthouse was a reality that didn't match the man on billboards. The air inside the apartment was stale, thick, and sour. Designer jackets lay crumpled on the floor where Adrian had dropped them weeks earlier. Plates and bowls stacked dangerously on marble countertops, crusted with dried food, mold blooming in quiet colors. Expensive furniture disappeared beneath trash, newspapers, empty takeout containers, and unopened mail. The apartment smelled wrong. But Adrian no longer noticed. He had trained himself not to. Cockroaches skittered across the kitchen tiles with confidence. Rats had learned which nights he came home late. At night, their scratching echoed softly through the penthouse while Adrian lay awake, staring at the ceiling, scrolling endlessly through business news and pretending everything was fine. He told himself he was tired, busy. Successful men didn't worry about small things. Cleaning was small. Tomorrow, he always said. Outside, Adrian was admired. Inside, his life was rotting. His assistant believed Adrian lived like royalty. His board members praised his structure and control. Investors trusted him with billions. Even Isabella Reed, the woman he was quietly dating, believed he was flawless. She had never been inside his home. Adrian always insisted on hotels, restaurants, private lounges. When Isabella once laughed and said, "Are you hiding a secret wife in there?" Adrian smiled calmly. "I value privacy." The truth was heavier. He was ashamed. Adrian's neglect didn't begin with money. It began with childhood. He grew up surrounded by staff, cleaners, cooks, drivers. Every mess disappeared before he noticed it. Every problem was handled by someone else. Responsibility never touched him. When success came early, it came with the same structure. Money replaced effort. And somewhere along the way, Adrian stopped taking care of himself. Not his space, not his health, not his mind, only his image. There were moments, rare ones, when guilt pierced through the fog. Adrian would stand in the middle of the apartment, staring at the chaos. "This is disgusting," he'd mutter. He'd grab a trash bag, pick up a plate, take 2 steps. Then exhaustion hit. He'd sink back onto the couch, still wearing his suit, staring at nothing. Minutes turned into hours. Eventually, he'd fall asleep, surrounded by the mess he refused to confront. Morning would come. He'd shower, dress perfectly, spray cologne, and leave like none of it existed. The collapse came quietly. A cracked pipe beneath the kitchen sink had been leaking for days. Adrian was in another city, closing a deal. Water crept across the floor, soaking trash, food waste, and grime. The smell escaped the apartment and crept into the hallway of Silvercrest Towers. Neighbors complained. Building management knocked. No answer. They forced the door open, and everything spilled out. The filth, the insects, the truth. Someone filmed it. Someone always does. The video hit the internet before Adrian landed. Billionaire lives like this. Luxury outside, filth inside. Money can't buy discipline. Millions watched. The comments were brutal. Sponsors pulled out within hours. Board members demanded explanations. His phone rang nonstop. Isabella didn't call. She simply blocked him. For the first time in his life, Adrian Blackwood had no control. He returned to Silvercrest City to find his life dismantled. The apartment was sealed. His reputation was questioned. His name was trending for all the wrong reasons. Adrian locked himself in a hotel room and sat in silence. No assistants. No meetings. No noise. Just him and the mess he'd been running from. For days, he didn't leave the room. When he finally did, it wasn't to fix things. It was to disappear. Adrian sold the penthouse quietly. No interviews. No statements. He left the city alone and rented a small house in a town where no one recognized his face. There were no staff, no cleaners, no assistants. For the first time, Adrian had to live. The first night, he stared at the sink. The dishes waited. He hesitated. Then he washed them. His hands shook. It felt ridiculous. This man who had negotiated billion-dollar deals, struggling with soap and water. But he kept going. The days were slow. Adrian cleaned, cooked badly, burned meals, tried again. He failed constantly, but each failure was quiet. No cameras, no audience, just progress. He learned routines not for appearances, but for survival. The apartment stayed clean. So did his mind. Months passed. Adrian didn't return to the spotlight immediately. When he did, he came back differently. Smaller interviews. No grand speeches. No pretending. When asked once what changed him, Adrian paused, then said, "Losing everything showed me how empty I was pretending to be okay." The world listened. Not because he was rich, but because he was honest. Adrian rebuilt. Not his image, but himself. The billionaire still existed. But now, so did discipline where it mattered. And for the first time in his life, Adrian Blackwood lived clean, not because people were watching, but because he finally was. Money doesn't change who you are. It only reveals what you've been avoiding.